Erev Tov Rabotai, we are continuing with our Mishna Yomi, Masechet Yevamot. We are up to Perik Yud Gimel Mishnah Vav. Today's Mishnayot should be Le'ilun Nishmat Neria ben Svetlana, Ranbai Eliyahu ben Burchai Israel ben Chana bat Miriam, Menuchatam began Eden, Amen, Elavdi ben Chaim lechaim, with the Refuah Shelema, Daniel Shalom ben Rosa, and Mariana Miriam Chaya bat Tamara betoch Shachule Israel. When a man divorces his wife, she remains forbidden to his brother. If he should then die without children, she is still forbidden to his brother, because a woman does not fall for Yibum unless she was married to her husband when he died. The Mishnah discusses what happens if her husband remarried her after he divorced her and then died. If a man divorces a woman and then remarries her, meaning he divorces an adult wife and then remarried her before she married anyone else, and then he dies without children, she is permitted to the Avam, her husband's brother. Although their first marriage ended in divorce so that she did not become permitted to her husband's brother at that time, nevertheless, his death during their second marriage permits the brother's wife prohibition that remained from the first marriage, as well as the prohibition created by the second marriage. The Rabbi Eliezer, however, rules that she is forbidden to the Avam because of a rabbinic decree. Rabbi Eliezer argues in principle the Tanakama. Rabbi Eliezer's ruling here is based on a rabbinic decree. The Mishnah will soon discuss a similar case where the wife is actually biblically forbidden to her husband's brother. Rabbi Eliezer rules that the present case is forbidden by rabbinic decree because of its similarity to that decree. Similarly, if one divorces an orphan girl who had been given to him in marriage by her mother or brother, so that the marriage is only rabbinic in nature, and then he remarries her and dies without children, she is permitted to the Avam for Yibum. This case is identical with the previous one, except that in this case the marriage is only rabbinic. The Rabbi Eliezer, however, says that she is forbidden to the Avam because of a rabbinic decree. Rabbi Eliezer forbids her for Yibum not only if she remarried while underage, but even if she remarried her husband after she was already an adult. Although in that case her second marriage was a full marriage under biblical law, while her first marriage was only rabbinic, Rabbi Eliezer nevertheless forbids her for Yibum because of the rabbinic decree that the Mishnah will discuss in its next case. And it is to teach the stringency of Rabbi Eliezer that the Mishnah added this case. The Rav does tell us that Halakha does not follow the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer. Under biblical law, a father can marry off his underage daughter to whomever he chooses, and the marriage is biblically recognized. If her husband then divorces her, the divorce is biblically valid. And having been married and divorced, she is no longer under the control of her father. He does not have the right to marry her off to another man. So for this reason, the rabbis called this girl an orphan during the lifetime of her father. At this point, she can marry another man on her own, but her marriage is only rabbinically valid as long as she is not yet an adult. The next case of the Mishnah discusses how these laws impact Yibum. Kitana she'esi'ah havia v'nitgarsha. An underage girl who was married off by her father so that her marriage is biblical and then divorced by her husband. Kituma b'chei is like an orphan during the lifetime of her father. Hechazira, if the husband remarries her while she is still underage, their second marriage is only rabbinically valid. Therefore, if the husband now dies without children, Divrei HaKol Asura le'avam, all agree, both the Tanakama and Rabbi Eliezer, that she is forbidden to the Avam. Since her first marriage was valid under biblical law, she became biblically forbidden to his brother and remains forbidden to him even after her divorce. When she remarried her husband after the divorce, their second marriage was only rabbinically valid. Therefore, when her husband dies childless, there is no biblical mitzvah yibum to override the biblical prohibition of her brother-in-law, because the second marriage was only rabbinic. In this case, even the Tanakama agrees that she is forbidden to the Avam. It is because of the law in this case that Rabbi Eliezer prohibits Yibum in the Mishnah's first two cases. Rabbi Eliezer never allows Yibum when the deceased brother remarried his divorcee, because in the case of the orphan during the lifetime of the father, Yibum would be biblically prohibited. The Tanakama, on the other hand, does not agree that the rabbis made such a decree. In the Mishnah's first two cases, the Tanakama allows Yibum because at the time of the deceased brother's death, he and his wife were married at least on the same level that they had previously been married. Either both marriages were on the biblical level like in the first case, or both were rabbinic like in the second case, or the first was rabbinic and the second was biblical. Either way, the mitzvah of Yibum was as strong or stronger as the brother's wife prohibition, and it therefore allowed Yibum. But here in the Mishnah's final case, the brother's wife prohibition is biblical, while the mitzvah of Yibum is only rabbinic, because their second marriage was only rabbinic in nature. Therefore, even the Tanakama agrees that she is forbidden. And that is the end of Mishnah Vav. Mishnah Zayin discusses the possibility of Yibum in cases where two sisters are married to two brothers and we are dealing with rabbinic marriages. The Mishnah begins with two cases where the sisters' marriages are both only rabbinic. Two brothers were married to two sisters who were underage orphans, so that both of their marriages were rabbinic. The father of these two girls died and they were married off by their mother or brother, and these marriages are recognized only by rabbinic law. Umet ba'ala shel achad me'en, and the husband of one of the sisters died without children. The law is as follows. Tetzeh, the widow goes out free from any yibum obligation. She does not require nor yibum nor chalitza. Mishum achot isha, on account of being his wife's sister. Since the Yavam is married to her sister, the widow is forbidden to him as an erva on a rabbinic level, and she therefore does not need even chalitza. When a woman is forbidden to her Yavam as an erva, she is exempt from yibum and chalitza, like we spoke about in chapter 1, Mishnah 1. The widow had only a rabbinic marriage, so she fell for yibum only on a rabbinic level. Her sister's marriage to Yavam is also a rabbinic marriage, so the wife's sister prohibition here is also rabbinic. The Mishnah teaches that the rabbinic erva prohibition blocks the rabbinic requirement of yibum. V'chen shtei chalshot, the same law applies to two sisters who are both deaf mutes and were married to two brothers. The marriage of a deaf mute is similar to the marriage of a minor orphan. They are both recognized only by rabbinic law, as the Gemara says on page 112b in Masechet Yevamot. Although deaf mutes are not considered legally responsible people and cannot marry on the biblical level, the rabbis instituted marriage for them on the rabbinic level. Therefore, the law in this case is the same as in the previous case. If one of the brothers dies, his deaf mute widow does not fall for yibum to the surviving brother because she is forbidden to him as his wife's sister. The Mishnah discusses another case where two brothers married two sisters. In this case, only one sister was underage while the other one was an adult. Gedola uktana, if one of the sisters was an adult and the other was underage, so that the adult sister had a biblical marriage while the underage sister's marriage is rabbinic, and one of the husbands died, the law depends on which one died. Med bala shel ktana, if the husband of the underage sister died, so that she would be falling for yibum to her adult sister's husband, and the law is that tetzeh ktana bishum achot isha. The underage sister goes out free from any yibum obligation because she is biblically forbidden to the Yavam as his wife's sister. The underage widow is falling to a Yavam who is married to her adult sister at a biblical level, so that she is biblically forbidden to him as his wife's sister. She is therefore exempt from yibum and chalitza. Med bala shel gdola. However, if the husband of the adult sister died, the widow falls for yibum on a biblical level to a yavam who has only a rabbinic marriage with her sister. So she is forbidden to yavam only rabbinically, which is not enough to prevent the biblical obligation of yibum from taking effect. So there are three opinions as to what should be done. Rabbi Eliezer says, we teach the underage sister to make miyun to her husband, thereby erasing their marriage retroactively as if they had never been married. Like we learned in Mishnah 3 and 4, when an underage girl makes miyun to her husband, we view the marriage as never having taken place. The husband is therefore permitted to marry her close relatives. The widow is now no longer forbidden to the Yavam even on a rabbinic level, and he cannot marry her and fulfill the mitzvah of Yibum. According to Rabbi Eliezer, this is the best solution because the underage sister cannot in any case stay married to her husband, the Yavam, since she is now forbidden to him as a sister of his Zikukah, the sister of a woman with whom he has a Yibum bond. Like we learned in chapter 2, Mishnah 7, the sister of his Zikukah is rabbinically forbidden because she resembles a wife's sister. Having the Yavam perform chalitza with the widow would also not allow him to keep his underage wife, since she would then be prohibited to him as a sister of his chalutza, like we said in chapter 3, Mishnah 7. By getting her to make miyun, we at least enable the Yavam to perform yibum with the widow. Since his underage wife is forbidden to him, if she does not make miyun, her husband will have to divorce her, and this will forbid her sister, the widow, as well, because she will now be the sister of his divorced wife. It's therefore better to have the underage sister make miyun to her husband, which will retroactively erase her marriage and allow the widow to undergo yibum. And the Rav does tell us, Virchata Kivate, the Halakha follows the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer. A second opinion, Rabban Gamliel says, Im me'ana, if the underage sister makes miyun to her husband on her own, me'ana, then she has made miyun, and her marriage is undone retroactively so that her husband may perform yibum with the adult sister. Rabban Gamliel agrees with Rabbi Eliezer that if the minor sister does make miyun to her husband, he is then permitted to take her sister in yibum. However, Rabban Gamliel holds that there is another option. V'im la, but if the underage sister does not make miyun to her husband on her own, tamtin achi tagdir, she may remain with her husband until she becomes an adult, and her marriage becomes biblically recognized. Once she sleeps with her husband as an adult, her marriage becomes biblically effective. And at that time, the widow will go out free from any yibum obligation on account of being his wife's sister. Rabban Gamliel disagrees with Rabbi Eliezer's opinion that the underage sister becomes forbidden to her husband as a sister of his zikukah. Rabban Gamliel disagrees with Rabbi Eliezer about the strength of the Yibum Ban connecting the Yavam and the Yevamah. According to him, we do not treat this connection as similar to a marriage, and the Yavam is not forbidden to the relatives of his Yevamah before taking her in Yibum. Therefore, according to Rabban Gamliel, the underage sister does not become forbidden to her husband when her adult sister falls to him for Yibum. He therefore rules that there is a simple solution to this problem. The Yavam can stay married to the underage sister, and when she becomes an adult, her sister will automatically be rejected from Yibum and Chalitza because she will be forbidden to him at that time as an Irva, his wife's sister, on a biblical level. A third opinion, Rabbi Yehoshua says, Ilo al ishto v'ilo al eshed achiv. Woe to the Yavam over his own wife and woe to him over his brother's wife, because there is no way to make either one of these women permissible to him. Motzi et ishto beged v'eshed achiv b'chalitza. Rather, he must send his wife away with the get and his brother's wife with chalitza. Rabbi Yehoshua agrees with Rabbi Eliezer that the Yavam may not remain with his wife because she is now the sister of his zikukah. However, while Rabbi Eliezer ruled that we encourage her to refuse her husband, Rabbi Yehoshua rules that this is also not an option because it is best to avoid the practice of mi'un, even when it is necessary to facilitate fulfillment of the mitzvah of Yibum, as the Gemara discusses on page 109b, Masechet Yevamot. Therefore, there is no choice but for the husband to divorce her. Once he does so, her adult sister, the widow, becomes forbidden to him as his divorcee sister. Since he is not forbidden to her, he must perform chalitza so that she can be released to marry someone else. As the Rav explained to us, the halakha does follow the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer. That is in Rabotai of today's Mishna Yomi. Baruch Adonai Leolam. Amen v'amen.